Landmarks Commission meeting of September 6th, 2022. This evening, I hope everyone is well and had a good holiday. One of the things we need to do this evening is add an additional item to our agenda order of business, and that is a request from the state Shippo organization on the consideration for the nomination of Whittier Elementary School to place it on a historic places resignation. I would like to add that under new business, if that is acceptable to all the members of the commission.
Chairman Meditz, this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I make a motion that we do accept your request to add that to the agenda.
I'll second that.
Mr. Chairman, before we take a vote, I do have something else that we want to add to the agenda under new business, and that is Shippo training. So if we could do all that in one motion, that would be excellent.
Commissioner Hill, would you like to amend your motion?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Meditz, this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I'd like to amend my previous motion to include Secretary Parker's request of Shippo training, that we accept that and the other business as previously mentioned.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Alderwatt, do you wish to continue that second?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Do we add those two additional items to our agenda in order of business this evening? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Thank you, one and all. At this point, we will have the consideration of the minutes for July and August 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes for August 1st and July 5th, 2022. Any discussion? I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion to approve the minutes is passed. At this point, we will move on to the consideration of applications.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes,
sorry to interrupt you, but before we move on, I need to read the Landmarks Commission statement.
thank you. Proceed.
Thank you. We would like to welcome those participating to the meeting of the Kansas City, Kansas Landmarks Commission. The members are participating remotely by Zoom webinar or in person in the commission chamber. Mr. David Meditz is serving as chairman this evening. Please note the following instructions for the meeting. If you are joining by Zoom video, please make sure you have an appropriate background and plan to stay visible during the meeting. Members, use the raise your hand feature to speak. After Chairman Meditz recognizes you, unmute your microphone and please state your name when you begin to speak. For those in attendance via Zoom, use the raise your hand feature when you want to speak on an issue. If you're in the commission chamber, please come to the front of the room to the microphone when the application is called, and direct your hand will let us know that you wish to speak. The chairman will recognize you when it is your time to speak. Unmute your microphone and state your name and address before giving your comments. If you have called in by telephone only, or if you are having trouble logging into the Zoom meeting, please email planninginfo@wycokck.org, as Secretary Parker is monitoring that email. Proper meeting decorum is expected of all participating in the meeting, and anyone who fails to act properly will be removed from the meeting. The city reserves the right to discontinue a meeting if any improper behavior occurs which prevents the uninterrupted conduct of business. The format for this evening's meeting is as follows. The applicant will make the opening statement explaining the proposal. Please note that the applicant will be given 15 minutes to present their case. The 15 minutes includes the applicant, consultants, and other members of the applicant's team. Members of the Landmarks Commission will then address any questions they may have to the applicant. Any persons wishing to speak in favor will then be called upon and allowed to do so at that time. Then those persons in opposition will be called upon and allowed to make their statements and ask questions. Please note that each member of the public who wishes to speak will be given 5 minutes to express their opinions. Time may not be shared between speakers. Each speaker will be allowed to speak one time unless a question is directed to them. The Landmarks Commission is required to disclose any contact with regard to any application on the agenda. I will ask if any contact has been made with the public, commissioners, or other Landmarks Commission members, and at that time, members of the commission will disclose any contacts they may have. Mr. Chairman, our first application on the agenda tonight is Certificate of Appropriateness, CA 2021-026, William Acquire. Certificate of Appropriateness for replacement of windows, doors, soffits, and fascia covering doors. Demolition of rear addition for a new rear deck at 1104 North 19th Street, located in the West Height Manor Historic District. At this time, does any member of the commission have any contact to disclose concerning this case?
I see none or hear none, Madam Secretary.
Okay, thank you.
At this point in time, is our applicant with us this evening? I see a hand raised. Do you see that, Madam Secretary?
Yes, I do. Mr. Daddy, we need for you to unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, this is Riyadh Baghdadi. I'm here on behalf of the owner, representing this case.
All right. If you would give your presentation, please, you have 15 minutes max.
As the lady mentioned, this is to renovate the existing house located at 1104 North 19th Street. And the renovation include, we're gonna renovate the soffit, replace the brickwork in there with the original brick. We're gonna replace the window, the existing window. We're gonna remove the back addition that was done later on. It's not part of the original structure in here. We're gonna remove this area here, restore the back elevation to the way it was, and then add a deck in this area. It's gonna be a 2-story deck from the first floor level, and then on the second, has access from the first floor and the second floor level. We will try to restore the building to the way it was as much as possible. And that's our, and this house will be used as a residential place.
Thank you.
You're
Do
welcome. Thank you.
I have any questions from my fellow commissioners?
This is Commissioner Schrader. What's going to happen with the windowsills? I think I recall that there were stone windowsills. What's your intention with the windowsills?
We will maintain those. If any of them needs to be fixed, we'll fix it. If it needs to be replaced, we'll replace it with similar kind, with the same kind of windowsills. The intention is to keep the windowsills.
Okay, thank you. Also, could you speak again about what I'll call the bay window on the north side of the second floor?
This addition, it's an addition that's gonna be removed. That's not part of the original plan to
Okay,
this area. Yes,
okay, I'm looking at a
this one here will be
1988
removed.
picture, but yeah, it's hard to tell, but it
Yep.
doesn't look original. And then the front second story, where half of it is enclosed, you're gonna keep that half enclosed, or you're gonna open that up?
We'll keep it the way it is.
Okay. Some of the other materials that you listed, or I'm a little confused.
Mhm.
You talked about sliding doors on the back, but then it looks like you submitted
Yes.
swinging doors. And then you talked about a new front door, and you're showing something that's not really appropriate with the rest of the style of the house. Can you talk a little bit more about those?
The
New
sliding,
doors
the
on the
sliding,
rear and
door, yeah,
those,
they're gonna be, yeah, sorry. The doors for the deck's gonna be sliding doors, sliding French doors. In here, yeah, these two.
But
Uh,
there was something in the submittal that showed swinging doors.
the screen door on the front doors, yes. And we
No,
had
it
a
was a
picture.
double swinging door. I don't know which page of the submittal it was, but
No, probably that's an old one.
okay,
Yeah, probably it's an old one.
yeah. It was on page, I don't remember what page it was, 25 of the submittal that we received. And then number 24 was a front door. Is that what you're still intending to do? The
Yes,
front door that was submitted?
yes.
And what style of windows are you putting in?
I mean, I read the report. Our initial was we want to put vinyl window, but then we're gonna go to a steel window, metal window to match the existing.
Okay. That's all the questions I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design. Just as a point of clarification, there's basically two sets of proposals in the staff report, because the one they submitted last December was denied by us and the state Historic Preservation Office, and then they resubmitted some stuff but kept some out. So I apologize for the confusion. So we did keep in all the old stuff that got denied, just so we could see it. Like before, they were planning on doing not real brick, but like
Okay.
tile brick, right? So that's a no-go.
Okay.
So I
Thanks for
apologize.
clarifying.
Yeah, sorry for
Yeah.
the confusion.
Are there any further questions?
Well, I guess I do have it. This is Commissioner Schrader again. I guess I do have a question for the staff. So the recommendations are for the most recent submittal. I mean, the staff recommendation is the approval based on the most recent submittal.
That is correct, as well, Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design, as well, and in conformance with the State Historic Preservation Letter that also found the resubmittals correct. Those are best reflected perhaps in the conditions of approval summary.
Okay, I'm double checking that. Okay. Okay. All right, that answers my question. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance to speak in favor of this certificate of appropriation?
There's nobody in the chamber, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Ham. Is there anyone to speak against?
Nobody in the chamber, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. At this point in time, does staff have any further comments?
Yeah, just a couple quick clarifications. I think it's important to state that this case did result as as a zoning enforcement case. It began with a stop work order in which the work was being done without a permit at that point. They were required to come in and get the certificate of appropriateness, as is mentioned in previous Q&A. We did have quite a bit of back and forth with the applicant and the applicant's representative on that. It's moved relatively quickly since Mr. Baghdadi has been engaged, but generally the applicant is proposing to remove structure that is not original to the site, property, or building. So that's a good thing. We're asking that they first restore and refurbish all the windows that they can. If they can't, they have to submit them in kind. Again, we're specifically asking for metal, not vinyl windows as originally proposed. At one point, the applicant was seeking to do the whole building as stucco. We've since worked our way back to, again, restoring the original brick that was replaced. I don't think they have the original brick that was already removed. I believe that's already been carted off, but essentially we're asking them to match the existing brick, which you can see in the picture on the paper. There's the pier all the way to the second story, but also kind of where the line was of the original brick between the second and the first story. So you can stucco the second story as original, replace the brick on the ground level, if you will. And then all the demolitions are a big part of it. We've also talked about the windowsills. Again, a lot of them are in a state of disrepair. I think most of them were removed with the original brick on the lower half. So those will have to get replaced in kind, again, with some sort of stone windowsill type thing. And then again, just the notification that if any additional future exterior work happens on the building and requires a permit, they have to go back through the certificate of appropriate process. The state reviews everything on the inside of this building. We do not. So again, that's not part of our C of A. Only our C of A looks at the exterior of the work. State review reviewed the interior accordingly. This is a contributing structure in the West Height Manor Historic District.
Our applicant is aware of all of these conditions, correct, Director Hand?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And I forgot to say, with them, staff does recommend approval.
Are there any further questions from my fellow commissioners?
Chairman
Sure.
Meditz, this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. Just as a point of reference, we've talked about this location before, haven't we?
Yes, ma'am. We
Okay.
denied a request several months ago.
That's what I thought. I was just making sure that I was thinking they were the same two buildings. Thank you, sir.
And so they came back and the back and forth and come to this agreement. If there are no other further comments or questions, I would take a motion for either approval or denial of CA 2021-026.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Schrader. I move the KCK Landmarks Commission approve this petition as meeting the requirements of the city code per all the conditions listed in the staff report.
This is
On all the
Commissioner
votes,
Welcome Hill, I
second.
second.
Been moved by Commissioner Schrader that we approve petition CA 2021-026. And I believe Commissioner Olivat beat Commissioner Hill in for the second. Any discussion?
She can have the next one.
Hearing none, I call for the vote. Madam Secretary.
All to vote,
Aye.
Bland,
Aye.
Credit,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion to approve this application, subject to the conditions in the staff report, passes 5 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and I wish the best to our applicant in this ongoing project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next application is Certificate of Appropriateness, CA 2022-005, Gennaro Mejia. Certificate of Appropriateness to repair a residential home, includes windows and siding at 1058 Kimball, located in the Parkwood Historic District. Does any member of the commission have any contact to disclose regarding this case?
Hearing none, seeing none, we will move on. Is our applicant or representative in attendance this evening?
Mr. Chair, they're in the chamber.
All right,
They're approaching the mic right now.
thank you, Director Hand.
No, you just have to state your name and address.
My name is Stephanie Mejia Perez, 5665 Sloan Avenue.
Continue on.
Just tell us what you want to do.
Oh, we were just talking about the replacing windows and that. We want them to approve us so we can get the house done because we're gonna move into it. Yeah. To replace the windows and the cover windows, replacing siding with stucco, yeah. He's gonna replace all of that.
Anything else?
No, we were had to talk to James Moley.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he has everything. That's about it. We want to get in there, finish it up and move in there.
Director Hand, if
Yes, sir.
our applicant is addressing us here, we are having very difficult time hearing her.
Oh, I'm sorry. We heard her loud and clear in the chamber. Can you just, sorry, can you
Okay.
do that all one more time?
Yeah.
A little more into the
Yes,
mic?
this is Stephanie Mejia. We want to go ahead and replace the windows, the cover windows, replacing the siding. Because we want to move into it as soon as possible, getting it done. We want it to look pretty and all that.
Do you have any further comments you wish to make?
No, that'll be it.
Do I have any questions from my fellow commissioners to our applicant? Seeing none, I have one. I know that staff has recommendations. Are you aware of those recommendations from the staff?
Did you get the staff report?
I think the report is at the house, yeah. I think
Mhm.
Molly gave it. I think he gave it to me on my email.
Yep, probably.
Yeah, we have everything.
Moving on, if our applicant has no further comments and no questions from my commissioners, is there anyone else here in attendance that would like to speak in favor of this certificate of appropriateness, CA 2022-005?
There's nobody other than the applicant in the chamber, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Ham.
Applicants.
Is it, I have one on the, I have another question. Is there impossible that we can put a deck behind there? Because it's little back there? Because it's too short back there. We were just wanting to know if we can put a patio, a deck.
I think that is a discussion possibly at a future
Uh-huh.
time on it. At this point, with the information that we have right now, my comments would be, it seems that you are wanting to replace some of this with different materials and et cetera, that alters the character of this structure, and which would not be appropriate to the historical context and integrity of the house. And I would think that maybe a little more, I know you want to get into it, but I think we need a little more work on it possibly. Is there any questions that my commissioners would like to address the staff, or any comments staff would like to make?
Mr. Chair, I'd just point out that, again, this subject property is in the Parkwood Historic District, which is a local, not state or federal district. So it's completely under the Landmarks Commission's jurisdiction. It is not a contributing structure in the Parkwood District. And we did have a little bit of trouble finding historical photos, but I think first and foremost, it's important to note that this is not a brick structure. That is a brick siding that makes it look like brick, right? So yeah, so it's basically just shingles. So that is a little deceptive in the photos. I just want to make sure that that was clear.
Yes.
When we started to look at other similar types of homes in the Parkwood Historic District, we didn't find one that was all stucco. Most of these are siding historically of some kind. And we allow hardy board siding, smart siding, just not vinyl siding. So I think the primary issue for staff was the request to have this be all stucco versus what we think it should be, which is all some sort of horizontal siding. As it relates to the windows themselves, again, they're mostly 3/1. There's a couple of unique windows in there. But they're all kind of coming in at that 3/1 or 6/1, and they're all metal. So we, depending on what the applicant's proposition is, they would just have to replace them in kind if they can't repair them. Again, the number one thing from the Secretary of Interior is always try to repair it first. And then you have to prove to us that it's unrepairable before you can replace it in kind, metal for metal. So we haven't seen necessarily that documentation, and the house is definitely wearing, but we're not 100% sure if the windows are all out. Again, we've set plenty of precedent for allowing the replacements of one-on-one, especially in the Parkwood District, which is not a state or federal district. So staff, I think, recommended denial, namely because of the stucco, but we do have those conditions of approval. If the Landmarks Commission did want to move forward with a recommendation of approval, we would just ask that we make sure we get the right in-kind windows, and that instead of stucco, we do siding. And if the applicant's okay with that, I think staff would recommend approval. You would just have to come back, because we don't have the information in front of us for the deck. You can get a deck. I don't think it would be too much of a problem, but we still have to go through this whole process again because we don't have the drawings in
That's
front of
fine.
us right now.
That's
So if
fine.
you
I
guys
know
want to,
everything step by step.
so if it's a step-by-step thing
Yeah.
and that's okay with you, I
That's
think we
fine.
would just carry that scope of your project to another C of A. But again, it looks like the applicant is shaking their head. They'd be willing to do some sort of horizontal siding as is a proposed condition of approval. And with that, I'll leave it back to the Landmarks Commission for any additional questions. But with the conditions of approval as stated for the windows, the siding, and all future work has to do a C of A. Again, they have to come back for a deck. Staff would change our recommendation to approval.
Thank you, Director Ham. Do I have any comments from my fellow commissioners at this point?
Yeah, I have one. It just seems to me like, she's not really ready to make these decisions, and so I'm reluctant. I would be reluctant to vote for an approval of it, since she still doesn't know what she wants to do exactly with the deck, and we don't really know what exactly we're going to do with the siding. I think it would be better just to say no at this point and have her resubmit with some specifics. I would like more specificity before I would support moving forward with this.
This is Commissioner Schrader. I'm here in the chamber with you. If we would approve
Yeah.
and you would, one of the conditions of approval would be you'd need to submit some siding to James for him to review and approve. In any windows that you had to replace, you need to submit those to James for him to look at and approve. And then you'd have to actually draw up something for the deck,
Yeah.
and that would have to come back to us for the deck.
Okay.
But obviously you could
Well, we
get
won't worry
started.
about the deck
Yeah,
till
right. You
later.
could get started.
Yeah.
As I always tell people, you can move in.
Yeah.
You know, so.
We'll talk about the deck later.
Right.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Aldvat, I do think that the applicant is sincere in agreeing to follow the conditions if we would approve per those conditions. So that's my comment for the current time.
Are there any other comments or questions from my fellow commissioners? Hearing none. I would receive a motion for either approval or denial of CA 2022-005.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Schrader. I move the KCK Landmarks Commission approve this certificate of appropriateness with the 3 conditions of approval that are in the staff report, that all future exterior work be, meet the certificate of appropriateness requirements. Replacement windows must maintain the 3/1 or the 6/1, and that this replacement siding should be siding and not stucco.
This is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I would like to second the motion, please.
Is there any discussion? It has been moved and seconded that the Landmarks Commission approve CA 2022-005.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask, I forgot one thing that I would like to put into the motion, and I'll hopefully Commissioner Welcome Hill will agree that the siding and windows will be submitted to planning staff for review. Okay.
This is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I concur with Commissioner Schrader's suggestion.
Okay, so that's part of the motion now.
It has been moved and amended by Commissioner Schrader, seconded by Commissioner Hill, that we approve with the conditions as stated, CA 2022-005. Madam Secretary, I call for the vote.
All to vote,
Aye.
Bland,
Aye.
Craddock,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion to approve CA 2022-005, subject to the conditions, passes 5 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, that now takes us to an update on our downtown historic and downtown churches multiple listing update. We do have Cynthia Ammerman with us.
So I have to wait till-
At this point, I am going to turn the floor over to Miss Cynthia.
Good evening. How are you? It's good to see you all.
Fine.
So we've had first of all, I want to apologize because I had a couple of delays. August was a rough month in scheduling with some illness and some bereavement leave. So I got behind on a couple of deadlines. But we are still on track for meeting the November filing deadline with the Shippo. Right now, as far as doing the documentation, I'm in the final, literally in the final edits, moving all of the 83-page narrative to the Park Service documentation and incorporating the figures and photographs that they require. I've been in touch with the Shippo a couple weeks ago after they had their summer board review, and I visited with Jamie, the NR coordinator in this National Register, or the Historic Designation Coordinator, excuse me. And I had a couple of questions that I wanted to run by her on how to, on my approach with incorporating the historic context from the previous documentation. And so I wanted to get her approval. So I gave her so I was able to deliver her a 98% completed draft rather than an 85% completed draft. But that will be wrapped up in the next couple of days. And I will have, as soon as I send that to the state, I will also send a draft of that to the planning department. I would recommend that, I would say that it'll probably be 30 days before we get comments back. So it'd be October that we get comments back from the state. That is why I'm being very proactive on getting as many of these details, so we don't have a lot of back and forth in the final editing process, and so that the product is ready to go for November so we can pull the trigger if need be. So that is for the commercial historic district portion. And then for do I have access to share my screen, Mr. Han? Or Janet, who's controlling?
Yes, you do.
Okay, I was going to show the commission the public outreach flyers that we worked on, unless you already have them in the presentation.
I do not, Ms.
Proceed.
Ammerman.
Okay.
I wanna bring
No
those up,
problem at
please.
all. I'm all ready. So as part of the public outreach and the engagement portion of the project, we are moving forward with scheduling a historic preservation open house and informational session that is scheduled for September 20th. Bear with me here. And so I worked last week with staff on getting all these details refined for the schedule of events. And this is the social media graphic that will be used and to promote the event. And then we have flyers here that I created that will be distributed to shareholders in the commercial district in the downtown corridors, and also on social media. I will distribute as through more directly through the nonprofit channels. And so I'm just going to scan through here. We have social media appropriate, print appropriate, and then also bilingual Spanish version to share with the community here also. So those have been distributed to staff, and Miss Alyssa, I think, will be in charge of getting all those out to the community. And then I will be on the ground beginning the 15th of September and will be available to work with staff. I will be doing field work and starting the field work and my photography for the church and PDF. And so the last couple weeks of September will be a very busy week, a very busy time. I'm going to go ahead and scan through here, and it looks like Alyssa has something to add.
Yeah, hi, Cynthia. I just wanted to update you and everyone else that today I did start handing out flyers in the downtown district. So that process has begun.
Excellent. It's super exciting. I'm going to stop sharing unless there's anything, unless you want to take a look at this real quick. I'm sure we can get them emailed out to the commission ASAP. And I think there will be we're gonna small group, I think, and for the open house, before the open house when I am in Kansas City next week. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen if that's all right.
It's fine.
I
there
have
any
a question
questions?
about the flyer. This is Commissioner Schrader. What I missed was what you will learn. I just saw that it had that
Oh.
on there. Can you bring that back up?
Yeah, of course. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So using this opportunity to work with, I feel like that it's probably been a little while since there's been a full historic preservation outreach in the community. And so really just giving an overview of all of the strong historic preservation efforts that are going on right now and then what we've been working on in the last year. The hiring of new staff and working with the director of planning and kind of, incorporating that because I will be working more with the new staff moving forward with the church component and then also just an overview on not only this specific project, but I'll have a little bit of information prepared on just the Preservation 101 for the community.
I guess my concern about the September 20th meeting, I think it's really excellent for the start of our county/city historic preservation plan. I don't want to miss an opportunity for downtown property owners to truly learn what this will mean for them in terms of requirements and opportunities. I don't know, I'm a little, a couple of years ago, staff prepared an informational sheet that, really stressed the availability of historic tax credits and all those kinds of things. And this doesn't mention any of that. And I don't see anything in here that's going to raise red flags in terms of, I don't want this in my downtown. I don't want you to put more requirements on my property. But at the same time, I'm not sure the people that, I'm not sure who's going to show up. I don't know. This is the first I've seen this, and so I'm not sure what I think about it.
If I could just jump in, this is Alyssa Marcy, long range planner. So for all of the property owners that will be in this district, we are sending out individual letters that not only have this, but have sort of an updated version of that letter you're referencing that talks about the tax credits and what it means for the property owners.
Okay.
So they will receive that. This was just more so for the businesses, so to get more of the the public involved in the meeting as well.
Okay, well, and that's what it looked like to me. So good. I'm glad to know that we're doing some specific outreach to the property owners. And, that's the one thing that I do think that our outreach committee or subcommittee was, always a little bit concerned about, was being able to make sure that we were convincing the property owners of the benefits of this. The tax-paying property owners.
This is Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. I just piggyback on what Ms. Marcy said, which is, we do have and Ms. Ammerman, we do have a multi-tiered approach here. I think the letter to property owners will be much more specific. In addition to that additional information, this was intended to be a little broader on purpose because again, this isn't a true let's call it planning process, right? It's a very different specific methodology to go through a designation, in the sense that who we really need is the property owners, and it's nice to have all the public involved. And so I think that's kind of the approach we've taken, is we want to make sure the word is out there that it's happening. We're gonna broadcast it. We're gonna do all the strategic communications thing through UG strategic communications, be it press releases and social media and things of that nature, e-news, what have you, that currently happens in the UG. But really, we're hoping to directly reach out to the property owners through that letter. It's 2 weeks from today is the meeting. And we didn't get the letters out today. So we wanted to postmark them hopefully with 2 weeks in advance notice. So our goal is to tomorrow send them all out. And it's only, I think it's like 100+.
Right.
properties.
Well, and this is Commissioner Schrader again, knowing that you're doing that specific letter, which
Yeah.
hadn't been mentioned before, makes me feel much more comfortable, because I like the idea of getting the public involved, because, we theoretically, you get a groundswell of, yes, we need this. This is so wonderful. Then that helps, focus public opinion in the right direction. So thanks.
And I will take this opportunity to plug again. I think now would be the time that we need the Landmarks Commission to help with the outreach. I would say specifically to your commissioners and specifically to your organization. So obviously, Mr. Schrader, working with the downtown shareholders and others, for instance.
Well,
we've been
are we going to be
communicating.
are we going to be able to get things that we can distribute?
Yes, we can send
Yes.
you all the materials in an
Okay.
email accordingly later tonight.
Excellent.
Yeah, to help
But-
share with your listservs, share with your folks, Historical Society. I know many of you are on the Historical Society as well. Now we would ask you to really hit the ground running and pick up the phone and help us spread the word that one, this project is happening, and two, this meeting is occurring to take public comment accordingly. But as of right now, after all the due diligence, I mean, you're basically looking at the district.
Okay.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank
You're
you,
very welcome.
Alicia. Thank you, Director Hand. Is there any other questions to be directed to any one of them?
This is Commissioner Schrader. Could we receive a list of property owners or something that'll help us? I mean, I realize a lot of them are shell corporations, but at least it would help us identify, a few key landowners that we could specifically reach out to.
Absolutely. Ms. Danbeck, before she left, completed the complete list of property owners within the proposed district, so we can send that Excel sheet. I would just ask that you not share that with. the
Oh, yeah,
public.
no, I just want to know so that we can,
I mean, it's-
again, know some key individuals that we could,
Yeah. It's public information, obviously, but
right, but yeah, no, I understand.
okay.
This is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I just want to congratulate the team on doing a substantial amount of work and having come to this point. You've done an incredible job, and thank you for your diligence.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. And we do have, again, one more meeting for the churches. That's going to be a different, right? So that's even more different than the district. It's a baker's dozen churches. So we're going to be specifically just reaching out to those
Right,
churches
right.
in October and have that be that meeting. I think it'll be even less public than this,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right.
So again, we'll also need your work on that. In particular, I think Cynthia has a pretty good idea of who, but we're still technically looking for the one church that does want to be designated now as a part of that MPDF process.
Okay.
Right, and then that'll be that's a whole nother compilation of literature for the churches too. So
Sure.
it would be really heavy if we did it all in the same meeting.
Yeah, no. Well, it's different audiences.
Different audiences, yeah.
Right.
Thank you again for all the
You're very
diligence and hard work that's being put into this. It was always a vision and a hope of mine that we would see this coming to fruition one day. So thank you very much. And with that being said, we will move on to our reports. And the first one is Commissioner Schrader. Outreach.
Specific outreach for the downtown district, we've kind of talked about that. It's ongoing, I guess. But I will do another update on the 7th Street Methodist Episcopal Church South, our Historic Preservation Design Board. I had the opportunity today to take Callie from the Planning Department, who's the newest member of our Historic Preservation Design Board, through the building, as well as professor at KU School of Architecture, and the pastor, not the most recent pastor, Pastor George Kemper, who was the pastor of Ebenezer Church of God in Christ, who worshiped in that building for about 10 years after the original congregation sold it to them in 1988. And that was really good to share that with them. And I think there may be some opportunities to do some better documentation of the building. Many of you know that the community colleges project is ongoing, but it's been delayed somewhat due to some funding challenges. It's still a go project from what we understand, but so we have some more time to do some additional documentation perhaps, and reach out to some potential users of some of the materials that may be able to be salvaged, historic materials that may be able to be salvaged from the building. So that was just an interesting update that I'm happy to provide.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Do we have any questions for Commissioner Schrader?
Mr. Schrader, this is Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design. I have a small question.
Sure.
In your engagement with the community college, have they noted any other changes in who they're bringing downtown with them?
What I understand, this is Commissioner Schrader, there's at least 2 partners that are no longer part of the campus. The YMCA will no longer be a part of the campus, and Wyandotte Behavioral Health will no longer be a part of the campus. So that changes some of their phasing and some things. So that's really all that I know for certain.
But that hasn't purportedly changed any other design?
Correct.
Okay.
It may change the phasing of it. Because if you recall, it looked like it was one large campus, but it technically was a series of buildings that could be built in phases. And particularly the YMCA and Wyandotte Behavioral Health were the major, if not the only, entities in one of their buildings. So, that building probably is the last phase of their project now. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Thank you, Director Hand, for that, posing that question, because we are flat approaching almost a year now. And I wouldn't mind an update from the community colleges to the progress that they're making. That being said, I will continue on with the second one, and that is Director Hand. You have a report on the Shippo agreement.
Yes, Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design. This is just my, I suppose, monthly reminder that we still have some outstanding material. I believe you know who you are, and Ms. Parker has reached out to you accordingly. We need every last little tiny bit of that material in order to confirm I guess, reconfirm our CLG status, as well as move forward with some of the building permit activity that requires Shippo review that they would allow us to do in-house if we were a CLG with the state of Kansas. So it'd be really super helpful if we can get that in there. It's really not too much work. Staff would be happy to sit down with you and put that together in a working meeting if we need to. Please just let us know what time works best for you, but we'd really like to knock this out, please.
Thank you, Director Hand. I really encourage my fellow commissioners. I believe there's maybe only one or two that have yet to get the necessary materials in, but we do need to get on this before Shippo and all loses faith in us that we can handle it. So please take a few minutes, get those forms and the information to our secretary so that we can proceed and go from there.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'm down to one member and all they need to do is submit the background form. And
Okay.
so I got, so that's all we need and then we will be ready to go.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And please get the form to her. It's another feather in our cap and another step on our stepping stones of where we're going. That being said, I'm going to move to old business. Director Hand, the same old question. Do we have any update on the castle?
Mr. Chair, unfortunately, we have nothing to report.
Demolition by neglect. Okay, number 2. Quindaro Township site update.
Yes, Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design.
Oh, the grant funds.
These are the 22 grant funds, as you know, have been awarded, and we are moving forward with a request for proposals for a citywide historic preservation plan, which we hope to not combine, but basically run in parallel, in tandem, and in collaboration with the update to the citywide master plan or the UG's comprehensive plan. I did just find out that the comp plan is going to be submitted on the street probably as soon as this week, after having gone through that process already once. So that's good and bad, right? Bad because we could have been 2 weeks into the citywide master plan update, but good because it should be happening, I mean, like now almost exactly in line with the citywide historic preservation plan. We have just heard today that budget has finalized its review of the RFP, and we have some final tweaks that Ms. Marcy is wrapping up this week, and we think we will be able to issue the RFP as soon as this Friday for the historic preservation plan. So that might be another potential outreach effort before that RFP drops. If anybody knows any consultants, tell them to look for it on the street. Obviously, we can't talk about RFPs when they're already released, but we'll go through the regular rigmarole of an RFP process where people can ask questions and so on and so forth. So hopefully that should be in the works, waiting for replies and or interviewing by our October meeting. So we're moving.
Thank you, Director Hand. The third item under old business is the Northeast KCK Heritage Trail update.
Did we not skip one? We skipped the 2022 HPF grant, or was I just not listening?
That was the RFP, Commissioner Alvote. Yeah. And I can take the next two, Quindaro Townsite and the Heritage Trail together, basically. So when I was out of the office in August, Ms. Marcy attended the board meeting for the new nonprofit that was created as a part of the MOU between the UG and the AME Church, Western University, around the Quindaro Townsite. We were able to work with multiple stakeholders in the Quindaro Townsite to kind of better align the progress that had been made to date with the Heritage Trail Master Plan, i.e., if you've looked at the Heritage Trail Master Plan, if you remember the Heritage Trail Master Plan, one of the focus areas was the Quindaro town site. And it talked a little bit about the history, the vision, what the Northeast Area Master Plan said about that. And so we sort of refined that with those stakeholders based on some common ground that they've all reached in that MOU nonprofit status. There was a cleaning, brush removal that we announced a month plus ago. They're going to continue that work, and I've been asked to attend the next meeting of that nonprofit board. So I think we're going to continue to engage that group in the, let's just call it the revitalization of the Quindaro town site area and their vision for it. Continue working on the implementation of the Heritage Trail Plan. As it looks right now, phase 1 in the Heritage Trail Plan specifically targeted existing Jersey Creek and the 5th Street corridor. If you recall, 5th Street has a 10-foot sidewalk on it, which is technically an off-street trail. Therefore, it's perfect existing infrastructure to begin our Heritage Trail. We're targeting quite a few green infrastructure, street tree. The Groundworks Energy is applying for a grant through their network to do some additional, if you guys are familiar with their green team, they do a lot of tree plantings and stuff like that to make it, increase the tree canopy and make it easier for people to walk, especially in the hot, hot sun. A little bit of shade makes all the difference. So we're starting to align, or we've already started to align, but I think we're starting to see us pursuing projects to start to implement the Heritage Trail Plan already. And that will dovetail into the work that we're doing in the Quindaro town site. So I think this more or less is just to say that we got a couple grants in our sites. We're working with community partners. We're working with Public Works, which is doing a lot of work, green infrastructure work in and around the Heritage Trail area. So it all kind of aligns. Before we started the Heritage Trail process, it cannot be overstated that there were like 6 different UG organizations doing 6 different things in and around the Northeast. And the Heritage Trail planning process brought them all together and leveraged them to make them all the more impactful. So the work of planning is working in the UG.
Director Hand, I might add that during our last meeting, I had announced that the Historical Society was looking into the restoration of the Negro Union's Veterans Monument at the Woodlawn Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And that organization has decided that they will go ahead and continue that process. They have contacted the Bloom Monument Company for bids for the restoration of that monument, repair, restoration, resealing, etc. of it, and 2 grave sites that are adjacent to it. So that is proceeding with that organization. And to, even though it will take a fundraising effort through the community to get it done, they are providing some of the seed money for the restoration project. So I just thought I would kick that out to you there, that is one of the spots that's on the trail, and it's another thing going on in the community.
That's great news. I'll make sure the community partners know about that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I think that is all of the old business. We will go to new business now. And what can be said about the Shippo training?
In our negotiations, ongoing negotiations with the State Historic Preservation Office, they did offer something up to you all that I wanted to bring to the table. They are also excited that for the first time in about a decade, we are about to hire our first historic preservationist. So Katrina Ringler with Shippo offered to come down to KCK from Topeka. Her thought is, if I came on a Monday of the Landmarks Commission hearing, I could that afternoon, do a training with our new staff, and then stay the night to do kind of a presentation / training through more of a refresher course, if you will, through the Secretary of Interior's standards for the Landmarks Commission. So if you're willing to add 30 to 45 minutes to one of your next meetings, again, our historic preservationist starts September 15th. So this could be as soon as our October meeting. She'd be willing to come down there and do that for you all. And I told her I'd ask you before I booked her. So I wanted to kind of sort of gauge your Mr. Chair and your board, whether you wanted to do a refresher course on Secretary of Interior standards.
To my fellow commissioners, we are required to have a yearly training of some type. I think it is wonderful that the state has been willing to come down to us to do the training, where sometimes in the past we had to go to them in Topeka or other places for training. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to piggyback the utilization of resources. And I don't know what it looks like forward in our October schedule and the potential for certificates of application or anything of that nature. But I would suggest that we accomplish this as soon as we can, and would be willing to do that in October if my fellow commissioners are of that same bent. Any comments?
Fine with me.
Commissioner Schrader says, fine with me.
Chairman,
That was-
or
That was
excuse me,
John.
Chairman Meadows, this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I would agree that this would be a opportunity we do not want to miss out on.
Commissioner Bland, yes.
All right, Director Hand, as chairman, I will direct you to get with the appropriate representatives and schedule this for our October commission, if possible.
That's great. I'll reach out to Shippo this evening and see if they are available in October, and we'll get it on your guys' agenda as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. All right. Moving on, our second item under new business was we received, or I should say, our planning staff received from the state notification of a nomination for the Whitaker School. And they are asking for our input, which we've done in the past, and recommendation for this application. And at this, I will throw it out to the floor for discussion by any of my fellow commissioners.
This is Commissioner Schrader. I have a quick question. This has no local designation at the current time, correct?
That is correct.
But if it becomes national and state register, then any work would come before the Landmarks Commission, correct?
That is incorrect.
We would have to make it a local.
You'd have to make it a local. So if it is a state or federal designation, if it does receive designation, it automatically becomes eligible for a local. We just have to go through the process of making it a local like we did West Height.
Okay.
But our understanding of the proposal is someone wants to rehab this building and they're trying to get state historic tax credits to
Right.
do it.
We don't know who that is, though.
We do not.
Okay.
And again, the letter gives us until November. I mean, I don't know what's the first Monday of November, but we have at least until next month if you want us to find additional information for you before the commission makes a decision on this, just as an FYI. If you're comfortable with it, we can proceed as you see fit.
I know the state wants it as soon as possible because they're meeting on November the 5th. But I am just wondering a little bit more of what they are trying to accomplish here. And though everything goes before the state and doesn't come before us, they could very well ask our opinion, correct?
I can't, Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design. They could. I don't recall any instance where a state and federal district that was not a local district, the state asked for our input other than as it relates to its designation. So this is just the designation. If they then apply for a building permit to pursue this work through the UG, we would obviously send it off to Shippo and they'd give their comments. We'd see the information, but I don't think we would participate in it unless it was also a local landmark.
This is Commissioner Schrader. I've got a question for Director Hand. I would think that it would be possible for us to recommend to the state that, you know, we're in support of this, but we would ask them to make sure that we know when they designate it so that we might take the opportunity, if we wish to add it to our local. I mean, I think we could do that as part of our recommendation letter.
This
Mr.
commi-
Chairman, if I
This-
could, please.
Yes,
Did anyone open up the link that I included there? There's a 34-page document. That's the application for it to go to. That's going to be reviewed by the board. Also, don't send a letter if you back this. I have a form that I have to fill out. With the landmarks commissions, either a recommendation of approval or taking no motion or anything.
This is Commissioner Aldevote. I opened that and I looked at that. And I have sort of a problem with this from the standpoint that these old schools have been, I mean, you're not going to put another school in there. That's a highly improbable occurrence. But they have used those to remodel them to make low-income housing, things of that nature. But that would require a lot of modification, and I don't think you'd be able to really do the things that you would need to preserve the building itself and still maintain the historical character of the building. So I'm reticent to approve this or to go along with this. I think we're stuck with a building that has a low probability of being used. When we do this with residential, somebody's going to live there. There's no doubt. I mean, it's still going to be a residence, but we're maintaining the historical character of a neighborhood. With this, it's sitting sort of out in the middle of nowhere anywhere. And yet we're sort of restricting the use that the building could have. And so I think we wind up with a high probability of it just being a white elephant.
Well, this is Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Alvott, the challenge is financing, and most of these renovations, if you're going to be able to use them for anything, they're desperately in need of the historic tax credits. The you know, if it's an income producing property, which that's typically what people want to do with these renovations. You can get up to 45% tax credits, which is significant in trying to reuse it. I think the challenge, if the state didn't approve it, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. If the state didn't approve it, then the building just sits there. If the state does approve it, it's fine. I mean, I don't have any problem if we just have no comment, since it's not one of our local
My question though is
things,
how
but
much,
you know, but I also have no problem in saying, yeah, go ahead.
how much are they going to allow it to be modified if you give it a historical designation though?
Well, the example could be the Horace Mann School in the, what is that, the 900 block of State Avenue here. You know, they basically changed every classroom into a loft-like apartment. And even one of the things that's kind of cool is they even left all the blackboards in. It's, and it rented out, you know, market rate right away. So, you know, it can be done successfully. And otherwise, the city's got just another big vacant building sitting there.
As always, your insights are appreciated. Thank you, sir.
They've been very successful in other places throughout the state of Kansas in doing things of this nature, and has proved very fruitful, and especially since Kansas has one of the better tax incentive programs in the nation. I would say that this would be a good one to support that designation with what we are trying to accomplish with our historic districts in downtown. We have a number of areas that could utilize this. They don't have many historic buildings, but where we can offer support, bring it in. And if this does turn out to be lofts or apartments, as they said, we're in need of critical housing. So personally, I'm kind of in favor of this and letting the recommendation go to the state that they approve it. And then it's up to the state to do the real true diligence on it.
Chairman Meditz, this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. I do not have a problem with it, the designation, but I would like to see that we're given more information as to what it's going to be and who's backing it. Not so we can say yay or nay, but so that we have a heads up on what's going on. So that when it does come time, if they are approved and we need to make this a local designation as well, we have that information already at our fingertips.
Mr. Chairman, this is
Yes.
Commissioner Schrader. I move that we ask the Secretary Parker to send this back to the state with a recommendation that we have no problem with it. We approve it, whatever the right language is.
It's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Bland seconded. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Schrader, would you state your motion one more time, please?
I move that the commission request Secretary Parker to return this to the state with the appropriate comment that we have no problems with it or we approve it. I can't remember exactly what what Secretary Parker said the language is.
Mr. Schrader, I can let you know it just says CLG Board Commission recommendation. 1, support the nomination of this property for listing in the National Register of Historic Places, or do not support the nomination for this
Okay, so
property.
we do support. My motion is that we do support this recommendation.
Madam Secretary, I will call for the vote.
All to vote,
Aye.
Bland,
Aye.
Craddock,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Schrader.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion passes 5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, fellow commissioners. I believe that concludes our agenda for the day.
Mr.
With
Chairman,
the,
I have one thank you for Director Hand, if you would give me the floor for just a moment.
I will allow that.
I just want to thank Director Hand. He was very supportive. The Wyandotte neighborhood where I reside, we are going to be able to get historic district signage at each of our intersections. It's just one of those signs that sits on top of the street signs at every intersection. We were able to get a grant, but we needed to get approval from planning and land and public works and everything. And it actually went smoothly. It was a little bit of a challenge, but we're very excited that maybe this will help in the future to avoid at least a few of the certificates of occupancy coming before us from West Heights with clients who said, or applicants who said, I didn't know it was a historic district. There'll be a sign on every street intersection that says it's a historic district. So thank you, Director Hand, for your support on that. So hopefully they'll be installed before the end of the year. So.
Chairman,
That is-
this is Commissioner Welcome Hill. If I might have the floor for a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Just to let you know, my dean at the community college is trying to get a KCK history class back into play. And I would welcome all of you to send me an email and let me know if I may give him your information so he can reach out to any of you who would be interested. Dr. Curtis Smith is going to prospectively be doing the class. And I'm also going to be reaching out to Commissioner Taylor as well. So just wanted to let you know that, and I'm very excited. So thank you.
That is a good move. I happen to have a little insight into that in my household here. All right. Our next meeting is going to be October 3rd at 2022 at 6 p.m. And I encourage you all to be here. And hopefully we'll be able to get our training in that same night. So add a little time to your schedules for it. And I will see you then. And I wish everyone a very good month. I call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good night, everyone.